sensor is in. Here's the old one, and so as I said, this is the port where that's connected to an intake, and you should not be able to blow through it. So anyhow, that's what the problem was, one of the problems. So anyhow, I'm going to turn the key on, energize the fuel pump, check for leaks, and then cross fingers, get it to start. And leaks like crap. All right. That's really cool. I don't know why it's done that. Let's now go. This is a aftermarket sensor. It's junk, and you look these kind of. It's hard to tell, but the original is just a tiny little bit fatter, a little bit bigger around, I guess. And when you put it on the fuel rail, on the fuel line, you see the resistance. And this one goes in and out. It's not sealing right, so whatever I did, it will lock in on the fuel line, but it will not hold the pressure. It just leaks like crazy. So you have to go to the dealership, get a new part. So don't get this one, whatever this one is, but it's no good. Well, it is what it is. I got another one. This one is Duralast. It should be a better fit. I just checked it. It has a nice resistance, and I think this will work. And let's put it in and start the car again. This is good. I already cycled the key a couple of times. Looks fine, no leaks, everything is plugged in. I did not start the car at all. I got the current clamp on my common feed for all of my injectors. And see what happens. Is this going to fix everything, or do we still have some issues with the timing, or issue with the computer activating injectors more than it's supposed to? I really don't know. And we'll find out now. Still misfire a little bit, but the floods are have to get a little bit of time. It's much better. I'm going to take it for a test drive, and I mean it still smokes a little bit on the tailpipe, but well, look at the current clamp real quick. Oh, it's a current ramp on the coils. This is going to give us a clue if the computer is still activating injectors more than it's supposed to. Everything looks fine here. There it is. Perfect. Let's do it again. That sucks. Oh, hell. There it is again here. It's back. So it sounds like we have two problems here. That sucks. There's a misfire here. Let's see what happens here. Nope. It's not, well, again, we have to drive it. It's not as frequent as it used to be, but it's still right there. Still does it. There you go, right there. Well, heck. Seems like it's kind of the same. Only one. It looks like it's. I don't see a lot of them, but I can. Oh crap. Definitely, it's 100 times better than it used to be. There's a few events where computer. It may be, the strategy to keep the engine running. I don't know. This is my. When I rev it up, that's okay. Let's see what happens. After the wide open throttle, it seemed to be okay. A little misfire here, but I don't see those events anymore. They are present, but not as nearly as frequent as they used to be. So it could be just a strategy of the computer to keep the engine running, I guess. There's one here. Or it can be a timing. I don't know. The idle is much better. So. Let's hook up the scan to look at the fuel tank. I did clear the codes, and now you can see. I'm sorry I did not show the data before, but the upstream oxygen sensor was always pegged rich. And you can see now it's switching. It's a little slow, seems like, but it is now. Computer is in control. We can actually drive the go from lean to rich. The downstream stays rich, seems like. And now we're still in negative 23 on the long term. The short term is negative as well, a little bit. Seems like it's much better. So now, we definitely need to change oil. That oil is causing a lot of issues right now. But at least my oxygen sensor is responding, and the computer now can control the fuel trim. I know it's negative, but it's able to control the fuel trim. It's kind of slow, but you see it go down to 200 millivolts. Little 1, 2, 3, and 4. This one seems like it's misfiring the most, but The big difference is they're all dry now. They're pretty nasty from running so rich. We can see they're all dry. Before we had number 2 and 3, they were pretty wet from all that fuel that was actually sucked through the intake from that pressure, fuel pressure sensor. Oil is changed. Now, why is it important to change an oil? So every time you have an engine that has such a rich condition, some of that fuel is actually go down into the crank. Well, it's going to dilute your oil, which is not good, but also you still have that fuel that's inside the crank that's going to be reburned back into the engine, so basically creating rich condition again. So hopefully this will take care of all the problems we have. That multi-strike on our ignition, I'm sorry, on our injectors, there's still a question mark on that, but let's see how it runs now. Nice and even. I don't feel any more misfires at all. Well, looks like it's time for the test drive. Let's look at the fuel stream now. Oh, look at that. Short term 32. And long term minus 25. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Basically it's 7%. That's spot on. See how much difference that oil had made? That's amazing. So it'll take a little time for uh-oh. Oh, now it's going actually in a, we went to the open loop for some reason. Huh. Huh. It still needs to learn the fuel trim, looks like. Now the short term went down, you can see there was adding, that's still be run a little bit. Yeah, the open loop or not. Now the upstream sensor, it's completely, it's peg lean now. It's a 50 millivolts because it's on the long term still is taking a fuel away. So there you go. Come on. It takes time to learn the fuel trim. It's stuck on this minus 25 in the long term. So now we can see that's taking a fuel it should not. That's the downstream. That's interesting. Downstream is now rich. Huh, I would expect to see downstream to be lean as well. Come on, baby, what's going on here? when it's in closed loop, you know, it was adding, this is what we want to be. It seems like this upstream sensor now, it's dead. Come on, go back to light, come on. That's weird, why this upstream oxygen sensor is not responding right now. The downstream is lean as well. It starts smoking a little bit, so that's why I shut the engine off. I'm not sure what's that all about. Maybe some residual oil. But I disconnect the battery to clear the memory on the fuel trim. If that doesn't work, I may use my virus to clear the memory, and so I can relearn the fuel trim. And for some reason, it's stuck on that -25. On the long term, it will not. When it starts adding 35%. On a short term, it was running better, and then when the short term goes to 0, and then it's still taking 25% long term, it starts to losing power again. And hopefully this will be just kind of reset the memory and see what happens here. I don't know what happened. Maybe I didn't press record. But anyway, car is running now. You can see we have a the long term is at 0, so I was able to reset the memory by unplugging the battery. But now the short term is a little elevated. It's quite a bit actually elevated, and but the upper oxygen sensor is now responding, and computer is able to control the fuel trim. It's still a little bit on the lean side, 600. I don't know why it's going lean now. So it runs actually pretty decent, and downstream it's hovering around 700. I'm just kind of comparing upstream and downstream to see if there's discrepancy there, but it seems like the catalytic converter is shot. It's fluctuated way too much. Yeah. Looks like at the and maybe as soon as I rev up, the fuel trim goes down. Maybe I have a vacuum leak somewhere. I have to check that now. Let's see. Yeah, it's creeping up quite pretty good actually. Well, it's like 17%, 14. It's more than it should be, but it's quite opposite right now. So now it's adding 15, 17% versus, you know, taking 50% off. So, but sometimes you have to reset the memory because computer cannot relearn the new fuel trim. They just get so confused. But the upstream is okay now. 700, that's fine. A little elevated. Maybe I have a tiny vacuum leak somewhere, because as soon as I rev up, it drops down. Yeah. It's only elevated at the idle, which could be a vacuum leak. Here's a current ramp. Here's my current clamp on that common wire, and current clamp looks perfect. I don't see. I'm gonna let it run, but seems like those multi strikes went away completely. I I guess that's the strategy to keep the engine running. I mean, this, I've never seen anything like it. It's perfect. It has nothing to do with cam and crank or timing or anything like that, but I have never in my life seen the engine that's gonna, or computer that's gonna multi-strike injectors randomly to keep the engine running. That is really odd, but I mean, it's clear as a, there's nothing there. Engine runs perfect. Again, I'm gonna smoke it to see if I can figure out that little elevated fuel trim at the idle, but it's fine. It's gone. I mean, it was much better after I replaced the sensor. You guys could see, I mean, almost like it was gone like 95%, I would say, in how it used to be, but right now it's completely gone. That's great. It's going to be seen a little bit, but I see nothing. Well, but you can see it, and it's important to change that oil and the plugs, because all of those plays a huge role when you have such a rich condition. It's gone. It's perfect. I love it. I mean, I can. Unbelievable. Well, good. Fuel trim is better now, it's like 14%. So, I don't know, should I even trace this or not? I mean, I'm happy with this. I got a lot of smoke coming on the EGR valve, but I think that's normal. I think that's... I got fooled by that before. But there's another leak right in the middle of it, in the middle of the intake. See that smoke there? Something is there that I can't see. I'm gonna get out in the car and take a look at it. There's a leak on a idle air control valve, and that's where our positive fuel trim at the idle are coming from. It's actually quite a bit, so that I think owner will take care of that. He does his own work, so I think, unless it's a fitting or something, I can't really tell. It's right above the starter, and I actually never worked on one of these before, so I'm not sure where exactly. But anyhow, that's what those positive fuel trims are coming on at the idle. That's what causes it. And the EGR valve, I've seen them done this before. I replaced once and they were still the same. I don't think that's the problem, but the idle air control valve definitely, maybe a gasket or fitting, I'm not sure what it is, but that's what's causing that problem. Well guys, looks like we got it fixed finally. Runs great, the RPM is good, temperature is good, accelerate just fine, and you can see it has 194,000 miles, and seems like it has a little bit of exhaust leak, it's a little loud, but it really accelerates very well, you know, from the dead stop. And you see it's right, its idle is perfect, and I'm pretty happy. I've been driving for 60 miles an hour. Catalytic converters are not plugged up. They may, I'm not sure if it's going to cause any issues later on from all that fuel that was dumped in the exhaust. So far so good. I'm pretty happy. We did not see any more of those multi-fire events on injectors. That has to be some kind of strategy that PCM's doing to keep the engine running. That did not happen on the ignition. It was only happening on injectors. And so if he's gonna change that IEC valve, I'm not sure. I I already told him that that needs to be addressed, but it's really not that, you know, for some car is over 20 years old, the fuel trim at 14%, it's not that big of a deal anyway. But if you replace that, that should go back to normal. And so now let's go from that stop, and you can see that's for a 4-cylinder. I mean, it's moving pretty good. And okay, there's a little bit of exhaust leak, but it's I don't want to push it because I got a car in front of me. They are actually going to have some storm coming in, and today's Wednesday. I think on Friday we're going to have some ice, snow, and all that kind of stuff in Kentucky. And but anyhow, I'm pretty happy the way it drives right now. I'm sure he will be too. And so you can see how important it is to you know, replace the spark plugs. The oil is a big deal. When you have this massive fuel leak, you really need to change your oil, because all that unburned, it's for two reasons. You're going to run rich again, but of course the oil is diluted, and it can actually cause a mechanical failure on the engine as well. Also, I want to emphasize how important it is to check every time you touch your fuel lines and you're replacing something before you start the engine, to make sure to check for leaks. That is, you can see how it was a pretty big leak. That pressure sensor was pretty bad. I mean, that was pretty bad. I mean, it was too small, and it would not fit on the fuel line, and it was leaking like crazy. So again, it's a good example where you really need to pay attention on your fuel lines. Let's just it's going pretty good. I mean, I cannot make it better than what it is right now. It runs perfect. I'm pretty happy. And well, I want to thank everybody for input, for help. This was something that really kind of got me confused, and it seems like timing is okay. His timing belt, you know, he replaced it, but it was some, I didn't say that, it was like 6-7 years ago, so it's been a while ago since timing belt's been replaced. And of course there was a possible, you know, many of us were confused by that multi-fire injectors. I never seen before, but I don't know, that's gone, that's good. So if you guys have that kind of issue, you know, check your fuel trim, see if you can find other sources of where you're getting your rich condition. But it seems like that's kind of normal, what the computer's supposed to do. I don't know. And yeah, it's running good. Well, guys, thank you everybody. I really appreciate the help, and let's see you guys next time. This one was good. Thank you so much. Have a good one.